Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's tutorial I'll be teaching us how to make this top. So it's a simple crop top with cape and basic sleeves, right? You don't have to line it. I think the only part of this top that I lined was the collar. So it's a simple DIY tutorial that you can just try out with 2 yards of Ankara fabric. So this is my pattern here, right? So I'll just explain what I've done so far. This is my shoulder line and this is my chest line. My shoulder to chest line is about 9 inches. Then shoulder to my bust point is about 10 or 11. Then the length of my top is 20 inches, right? So now on the shoulder and the chest line, I've marked half of my across back or shoulder measurement, okay, and I linked it. Then on the chest line, quarter of my bust plus 1 inch. On the waistline, quarter of my waist circumference plus 1 inch for that and 1 inch for side seam, okay. Then you link them together. So I'll just quickly mark my darts. So I first of all marked half of my bust span away from the center front, and I'll be drawing my darts like so. So my dart intake is 1 inch, so that's half inch on both sides, and it should stop an inch before the bust point. So I'm marking half inch on both sides, and I'll just draw my darts like so. Okay, then I'll go ahead to draw my neckline. So I'm doing 3 inches for the neck width and 3.5 inch for the neck depth. Okay, you could actually make yours bigger, it depends on what you want. So but I'm doing 3 by 3.5. So I'm just going to draw my neckline. Okay, I'll draw my neckline, and then next I'll go to the shoulder slant. So this tutorial is great for those who don't want something serious, or just have one or two fabric lying around the house. So you could just try this out. It's a very simple tutorial. Okay, so I'll just use my French curve to create my armhole like so, and then I will cut out. So when I cut out, I'll be using this my front pattern to draft the back. So but before I do that, let me just quickly cut out. Then I'll place this on another pattern paper. Okay, so and when I do that, I will trace out the front pattern. Okay, so I'll just use my marker and my ruler to trace out. Okay, then I'll also use my tracing wheel to trace out my darts. So I'm just tracing out my marker first because we want to use the front pattern to draft the back. Okay, so I just trace, then I've used my tracing wheel. Okay, this is my tracing wheel here. I'm taking off my pins, and this is my tracing wheel that I use in tracing out the dots there. So but I'll trace it out with my marker. Now for the back neckline, I'll come down by 1 inch for the neck width. So basically the neckline for the back is higher than the front. I'll just draw my neckline like so. Then I'll also use my marker to trace out the dots that I already traced with my tracing wheel, just to make it visible. Okay, so I'm just tracing out the dots like so. Then I will cut out. Now after I cut out the bodies, I will transfer both the front and back to my fabric. Now let us, come in by 1 inch on the center back here. We want to adjust the center back line so that we don't have a bulge at the zipper. Okay, then I'll also add that 1 inch back to the side seam so that my waist measurement is not short of 1 inch. Okay, so I'll link it back. So now by doing this, the center back is now slanted and not straight. So I'm just drawing it out, and I'll mark my 1 inch for zipper on the waist, chest, and my neckline. Okay, like so, and I'll link all of them together. So now that I'm done with this, I'll just cut out and then transfer to my fabric. This is my back, and do not forget the front pattern is on fold. Okay, so the zipper will be at the back. Now I'll transfer to my fabric. This is what it looks like here. Okay, so I've added my seam allowance to the neckline, the shoulder slants, the armhole, and the waistline, but the center front is on fold. Okay, so quickly we'll go to the cutting of the collar, which is I think the main highlight of this tutorial. So I'm just detaching my pattern from the fabric. Now I'm going to fold another fabric again to cut out the collar. So to do that, you place your fabric on fold, okay? Then you take your center front piece. So you can actually place your fabric directly. That's the pattern you cut on your fabric. You can place it directly like this, or you use a pattern paper like I'm doing. Whichever one works for you. So I'm going to pin your pattern to the fabric. I'm trying to see if I have enough fabric, okay? Yeah, so don't forget the collar is on fold for the front. So I'm pinning the pattern to the fabric like so. Then I'll also take my back pattern and place it shoulder to shoulder with the front. Make sure the armhole matches up, okay? And you're also going to pin it down. You pin it down, and then next thing will be that I'm going to trace out the neckline of the front and back together. I'll be tracing out the neckline. So when I'm doing that with my chalk, make sure the shoulder, both of them, they match up also. Okay, so I'll just trace out. Then when I'm cutting, I will add half-inch seam allowance. Then for the center back, you're going to trace out the zipper allowance, the side with the zipper allowance. You're going to trace it out also like that. So now I will cut out. Do not forget to add your half-inch for seam allowance like so. So I'm just going to trace out. I'll also trace out the zipper part. Okay. Then I can take out my patterns, and then now I will now measure the length of the collar I want to work with. Okay. So I think the collar is somewhere around my underbust or so. But basically from the tip of the neck, from the tip of the neckline to about 10 or 11 inches with the seam allowance, okay? So I'll just, mark that round. So you keep measuring from the neckline, and then it has to be even. So I'll just mark the 10 inch, or is it 11 inch? Just mark it round. Mark it round. Then if you notice, for some tops that have collar, at the shoulder, the collar is not so extended out. So if you want to reduce the length of the collar on the shoulder, what you do is you're going to like draw out the shoulder line, okay, like that. Then you can now use your curve to probably come in a bit, just to reduce the length of the collar around the shoulder. You will see that I didn't touch anywhere around the front part. So I'm just curving it inward a bit, but this part is optional. If you're fine with the length of the collar being even round, then you could just leave it. It's optional. So now I'll cut this out, and I'll also use this to cut another one. So I'll be having two of this. One will serve as my fabric, the other will serve as my lining. Okay, or if you like, you can use any other fabric for the lining, depends. Okay, but I want to use the same fabric for my lining. So quickly we'll dive into the sewing tutorial. So basically you're going to place the front and back pattern together like so on fabric. You go and join the shoulder together, front and back, with half-inch. Then I'll go ahead and sew my dart on the blouse, both on the front and on the back. Okay, so now that I've done that, we'll now couple the collar. Okay, so this is my front and back piece together, joined at the shoulder. Now bringing my collar, I told you that I'll be cutting my lining. So what you're going to do, you're going to be joining it together. But before we do that, on this particular design, there's an opening on the front part of the collar. There's an opening there. So I'll just take my tape measure, come down by probably 4 or 5 inches from the center front, from the neckline rather. Okay, so I'll just measure probably 4 or 5 inch. Okay, then I'll just cut this, but this part is optional. If you don't want the collar to have this opening, you don't have to do this. Okay, so you open up the collar like so. This is one, and then of course I said I'm lining it, so I also use the fabric as a lining. Okay, and if you notice, the lining has joining because my fabric was almost not enough, so but it's on the lining, so it doesn't matter, right? So I'll just go ahead and sew with half-inch all the way down. Don't tamper with the zipper allowance part. Okay, so once you sew, we're going to be attaching the collar to the bodice. Okay, now this is my collar looking all nice and clean. I didn't add any gum stay or paper stay or all those interface. I didn't add it. If you want to, you could add stay or paper stay, but gum stay is completely unnecessary. Okay, it gives this very stiff look, and then when you wash it, oh yuck. So just don't bother. Okay, all right. So I'll be attaching the collar now to my bodice. If you want to line the blouse, you place the collar on the fabric like I've done like this. Okay, and then you place your lining on top and sew the neckline, but I'm not lining this top, yeah, because I know lots of us don't like tutorials that are too lengthy and all of that, so I'm not lining this top. Okay, so I'll place the collar on the wrong side of the blouse as under. Okay, I'll go ahead and sew 1/2 inch, and then when I'm done, I will flip the collar back to the right side. I hope that made sense. Yes, you can start, the collar is under the blouse. I'll just sew it 1/2 inch and flip it over. So let me show you what I've done so far here. Yeah, so this is the wrong side, so you flip it over to the right side and you have something like this. Okay, and I've already fixed my sleeve on one side of the blouse so that I have an idea, but I still have one sleeve that is not fixed yet. So for the sleeve, there's no big deal. I'll be dropping the link to the previous tutorial on how I draft a basic sleeve. Okay, so you can watch that tutorial and cut your basic sleeve out. So this is my basic sleeve here. I've already torn the hemline. I'll just go ahead and fix the sleeve to the blouse. Okay, yeah, I'll just fix the sleeve to the armhole opening. Sorry. Okay, so when you do that, then you start sewing from one end of the sleeve all the way down to the hemline of the top, or you start from the hemline and sew it back to the end of the sleeve, whichever one. Just sew with 1 inch side seam allowance. Okay guys, so you can see that I've sewn the side seam already. So the next step is to go ahead and fix your zipper, and then don't forget to do a roll hem on the lower part of the dress. So this is my zipper here. I'll go ahead and fix it, and then I'll just show the final outcome. So guys, like I said, it's best rocked on a high waist pant, and this is how it looks like. So I'll be expecting us to try this out. Okay, do not forget to share the tutorial. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for your time, your data, and one more thing, share this video with your friends and family. Bye.